Hello, everyone. Today we are going to talk about managing your online presence. This is the first of our business education series offerings in 2020. So we're happy you joined us today and hope you learned something useful from this presentation. My name is Melissa Meschke. I'm the director of the Small Business Development Center at EW Stevens Point. A little bit about me, what gives me the qualifications to give this presentation today. I'm actually originally from Wisconsin. I grew up on a farm, and after I graduated high school, I went to college for marketing. So I studied marketing. I also have a business communication certificate. And after I graduated college, I lived in Michigan for 5 years where I ran a marketing company. I also worked at a winery. I worked at a public bus company. Had a variety of jobs while I lived there that really helped me get the experience that I needed for this position, but a lot of marketing experience through that. So work with websites, digital marketing, graphic design, and video for the most part, but we did play in a lot of marketing fields. I've been the SBDC director at UW Stevens Point for over 2.5 years. If you're not familiar with the Small Business Development Center and how we can help, our main objective is to offer no-cost consulting to new and existing businesses. This is a nationwide offering, so if you're watching this outside of Wisconsin, you can also contact your local SBDC for assistance. On the screen, you'll see a variety of services that we provide, but this is really just a starting list. We can do a lot more than this. So best to check out the website. I'll have the link at the end of the presentation so you can check it out. So the objectives for today, we want to learn tips and techniques on how to effectively use your time and resources to manage your online presence. We all know we can spend a lot of time doing things online and really need to figure out what is the most effective use of our time. So today's presentation focuses on a few select things that, in my opinion, if you're not going to do anything else, these are the things you should be doing. So what do we mean when we talk about digital presence, right? What's the definition? In my opinion, you're really talking about these 5 things. You're talking about visibility, authority, first impression, showing up in searches, and 24/7, 365. I think everyone really knows that if you're not online these days, in all reality, you don't exist. So we have to figure out, how do we help you appear online? It can be tricky, and we'll talk about that throughout the presentation of the algorithms changing and the information changing on a very quick basis, but really thinking about how do you show up in searches and thinking that most people use websites as their first impression. They're not necessarily picking up the phone or visiting you in person at the beginning. So we are going to start with a website. I think if you're talking about the very top, the very beginning, if you're not going to do anything else, you absolutely need to have a website. So I separated this into do's and don'ts. First, we're going to talk about the do's. Their main website content. A lot of websites have your basic pages. You've got your about, your services, your contact, maybe a locations page, among other things, right? There's a lot of content we can put on a website. What we need to figure out is how do we put the right amount of content on there to get somebody interested enough to take action on your call to action. So whether that be call you or email you or send you a Facebook message, right? But not giving away the farm, right? You don't want to give away too much information because then they're not going to call you. They just found what they needed on your website and they're not going to pay you for your services. So when you're talking about website content, thinking about the things that people need in order to make that next step, right? So thinking about the content on the website, I'm actually going to jump down to the 3rd bullet point there, the long tail keywords and other SEO. So old school websites were very much based on keywords. So you just had content that was absolutely stuffed with keywords throughout, and that was how you ranked really well on Google. They've since gotten a lot smarter, so they now focus on long tail keywords and other SEO factors. So when we're thinking about long tail keywords, that's how you Google, how do I build a flower bed versus just flower bed, right? You're typing in full questions. You're trying to get the most accurate information. So we're typing in a lot more information into Google to make more relevant results. Those long tail keywords are really, really important to include on your website. So they're really nice for headings. They're really nice for FAQ pages, question and answer page, right? So they can be really valuable on there as well. And then when you're thinking about keywords in general, yes, you still do need keywords on your website. As early as 2014, You know, it really wasn't that long ago, we could still put a bunch of keywords in the back end of the website, put a bunch of what was called backlinks in the website, and that was how we ranked really well. If you're still doing that, you definitely need to stop. There's no way that you're ranking well on Google because of those factors. You're probably actually being quite downgraded if that's the case. And the average life of a website now is about 2 years. So if your website was built in 2014, you definitely need a new one anyway. Now I'm going to jump back up to the second bullet point, specialized landing pages, and thinking about how we track our non-digital marketing to our digital marketing, right? So if we're doing a print ad or if we're doing a Facebook ad, how do we track that content? How do we track that traffic? That can be through specialized landing pages. So that's an example of mybusiness.com/Facebook, mybusiness.com/learn more, right? So we're using specialized URLs. On most website platforms, it's very easy to do. You don't need to worry about the content that's on there. You know, you have to consider that it's an easier way to track your traffic, right? You never want to send anybody your homepage. Any marketing you do should never send anyone to your homepage. So paying attention to that. So jumping down to the don'ts, don't leave personality out of it. You know, it's really, really important to have personality on the website because that really shows who you are and what you do. This is really based on the idea that people make purchase decisions based on who they're comfortable with, right? A great example of this is an insurance agent. There's a lot of insurance agents out there. Why do you work with the insurance agent you do? You probably have some sort of personal relationship with them, right? So thinking about how do you put that on the website? How do you put that on your LinkedIn page? How do you put that online? So they can really identify with that and learn more about you before they even make that first contact. So the second bullet point here, I do get a lot of pushback on, but for the most part, I don't recommend putting prices on your website unless obviously you're selling e-commerce. Then you need your prices on your website. But if you're a service-based business and you put your price on the website, you're really allowing somebody to make a purchase decision based on just price alone. Leading with price is very difficult. That's not really something you want to do. You want to lead with trust and you want to lead with value. You want to lead with personality. Price actually shouldn't be that big of a decision factor for most of the services out there. Now, there definitely are some exceptions, you know, along the way that have come up, but for the most part, I recommend keeping the prices off the website. And then my last don't is don't ignore the power of video. Google takes a lot of stock in if you have video on your website. It also is a great way to get more information with less effort, right? So a picture is worth 1,000 words, a video is worth 1,000 pictures. So think about that value as people are traveling on your website. I do have some great examples here. I'm going to click on these really quick and just go over why I like these. So thinking about why we like this website. I have a daughter, she's 3.5, and she's quite tall. My husband and I are both over 6 feet tall, so I really like this website because they have longer t-shirts and longer shorts, but they also have very empowering messages for girls that are sometimes hard to find in the store, right? So I really like the personality they put in this website. I think it's very relevant to what they're looking to get across, and they do a really great job of talking about why they do what they do. So definitely one to check out there. I do have a local marketing company here that I wanted to show the website. Stephanie is a friend of mine, and she does a really nice job talking about her her personality on the website without putting prices on it. So a great example of a really nicely designed website with enough information to make you curious and want to contact her. But again, not giving away the farm. You know, she's not giving away too much content. And then I did actually put the link to a local software company. And the reason that I really like them is because of their use of video. You know, obviously they've got the moving video behind on the homepage that you can see, but as you click around, they have videos for everything. They do a really, really nice job incorporating videos throughout all of the services. So definitely one worth checking out as well. now we're going to pop over to Google search. After Google search, we're actually going to talk specifically about Google Analytics. So when we're thinking about Google search, there's basically two things to think about when we think about search. You've got your organic results and your paid results. So the organic results is the SEO. That's your search engine optimization. So thinking about how you rank organically, right? Your PPCs, your paid results, your pay per click paid ads. So when you search something on Google, typically the first 3-4 options are paid results. They're labeled with a small box that says ad. So I always say that if you like the company you're searching, don't click on those first couple results because you're going to cost them money. Underneath that is where your organic listing is. You do need to pay attention to both. Now, for a lot of businesses out there, the pay-per-click actually doesn't make sense. There's either too much competition in the area or there's not enough competition. You really need to find like those sweet spot businesses that are going to be able to perform well on pay-per-click. If you can get a click for $3 or $4, that's kind of where you want to sit. A really, really competitive field, you may pay upwards of $15 or $20 per click. And something that is not very competitive, you might see that you're going to get an inexpensive click, but there's not enough traffic, right? So you're not going to get any clicks as a result. So if you are going to do a paid campaign, what I always suggest is hiring somebody. It's really, really easy to spend a lot of money doing the wrong things and pointing people to other people's websites. So you really want to pay attention to those paid campaigns. And like I said, hire an expert. I think that's the best way to go about it. What you can control to some extent is your organic listing. So how do you search when you're looking up? Recently, I was searching for a person to cut down a tree in our yard. So when I search arborist in Stevens Point, Wisconsin, where are you coming up organic, right? Both are very important to pay attention to. When you're thinking about looking at where you rank, if you're just looking on your own laptop, you are skewing those search results, right? Because your computer is going to see that you visited your website multiple times. So obviously you're going to rank higher. So if you really want to see where you rank organically, go jump on a public computer, a library, or somebody that you know, but has never used your business services, for example. So that really comes down to Googling yourself and Googling your business. If you are a small business owner, I always recommend Googling yourself as well. What's coming up when you search your name? People do a lot of research, right? So doing a lot more searching than they used to, and sometimes they will go as far as looking up your personal profile on Facebook and looking up, articles related to you as a person. So do keep that in mind that they might be searching not only your business, but also you. Google My Business is also really important to set up when you search something on Google and that listing shows up on the right-hand side with the nice pictures and the hours and the location and the call now button. That is your Google My Business. The link here will take you to claim your account. So if you haven't done that before, Google actually sends you an old school postcard. So thinking about, if you haven't gotten a postcard from Google, you probably haven't claimed your business on Google. Once you do claim that, you have the ability to edit your hours, edit your pictures. You can actually post on it like a social media. There's a lot of really neat features. And it's really important for things like, holidays. So over Christmas and New Year's, when are you open or when are you closed? Another thing you should set up that's also free is your Google Analytics, which again, we'll talk about on the next slide, but this link here takes you to set up those Google Analytics. Gather reviews. So don't underestimate the power of those reviews. That does play into how you rank on Google. And a lot of people do pay attention to it. So it is important to gather those reviews. Unfortunately, it's a little bit tricky on Google. You do have to log in with your Google account. You have to submit the review, and then there's a review time period before it actually gets up on Google. So it's not the easiest thing you're ever going to do, but it is definitely important. And my major don't for Google search is don't pay a company to, quote, get you on the first page. Organic listings are constantly changing with Google's algorithm. And you can't just search what Google's algorithm is, right? That's too easy. Everybody would do that. So just paying attention to industry resources and trusted specialists to know what that analytics, what the algorithm looks like at the current moment. So I wouldn't recommend paying a company to get you to the first page, because you could pay them to do that today, and then those practices will be outlawed tomorrow. So now we're going to dive into Google Analytics. Like I said, it's pretty easy to set up on your website. You know, depending on the platform, what I usually recommend is just setting up Google Analytics on WordPress, setting up Google Analytics on Wix. You know, whatever your platform is, that's the easiest way to get that in there. Sometimes working with a local specialist is the best way to get that set up. So if you haven't ever been in Google Analytics before, you can spend literally hours and hours and hours and hours in Google Analytics. So thinking about what those reports look like and what information you really should be paying attention to. So here I've got a snapshot of the department that I live in at the university. So we launched a new website in September, and we were trying to look at the traffic from September through December to give us some information. This is the most basic report you can pull from Google Analytics. There are many, 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 many more that you can pick, but this is the one that I wanted to focus on. And then really looking at those 4 bullet points on the right-hand side to let you know where you should focus. So your top visited pages, your total web traffic, your bounce rate, and your average time spent on page. So this list here pulls up our 9 most visited pages between September and December. So we really want to pay attention to why. Is there anything surprising, right? Is there anything unexpected? Is there anything weird? Does this traffic make sense? So that's the first thing to do with this report, is really look at your top pages and see, like, does this make sense? Is this what I expected it to be? If you're running an ad campaign, that's something to pay attention to, right, with that specific URL that I talked about before. So thinking about the pages that are on there and why they are on there. So on our website, we've had a total of 76,000 page views and 57,000 unique page views. Both of those numbers are important. So unique page views means one person visited once. The page views is the total page views. So approximately 20,000 visits were from repeat visitors. An important number to pay attention. The other one we're going to look at is bounce rate. Bounce rate is probably one of the most difficult to understand and control from Google's end of things, right? Bounce rate basically means they came to your website, and if they left right away, you're going to have a high bounce rate. So they came, they clicked, and they clicked off, or they hit the back button, or they went and hit a search button instead. They typed over the URL, right? They didn't end up in the right place. That can be a bounce. Additionally, if you've got your social media links right at the top of your website, that's also counted as a bounce, because someone comes to the website and they click on your Facebook link right away, that's a bounce as well. So really paying attention to where you have those external links, because it can really hurt your bounce rate. Ideally, you want to aim for less than 40%. That's a good bounce rate in Google's eyes. So paying attention to that bounce rate is important. However, it's very difficult to control. So you'll see on our website, we've got an average bounce rate of 65.53%. Now that's actually quite high. Anything over 70%, Google's really going to start downgrading you. But the reason that's so high is our continuing education department has an external registration system. So when you come to our page and you click off to register, that's counted as a bounce. So in our opinion, for our specific department, the bounce rate actually doesn't really tell us much. We know that people are leaving to register. That's actually good. So that's a tricky one. You know, I wouldn't lose too much sleep over that. The bounce rate isn't terribly important, but it is important to realize how people are navigating your website and how you can lower that bounce rate if at all possible. You also want to look at the average time spent on page. You want to aim for less than a minute. If you are over like 90 seconds, Google's going to start downgrading you. Or excuse me, if you're under 30 seconds, Google's going to start downgrading you. Over 90 seconds is really, really great. So on our website, we've got an average time of 1 minute and 38 seconds. So that's pretty good. We're pretty proud of that. That means that people are coming there and they're spending time there, right? That there's relevant content, there's information that they're looking to understand, and we're really making the best of that average time spent on page. If you go down to actually our 4th top visited page there, the personal enrichment page, it only has a time on page of 17 seconds. Now you're like, wow, that's really bad, right? Well, it's just a landing page. If you go to that page on our website, it's actually just a bunch of links to other pages within the website. So it makes sense that that's going to be lower. Conversely, the top result there is a conference website. There's a lot of information on there. You're looking at session times, you're looking at the presenters, you're looking at the location, right? So there's a lot of information on the conference page. 3 minutes and 24 seconds to download that information into a user, right, is actually pretty good. So really paying attention to why and thinking about some logic behind these. My major don't with Google Analytics in general is just don't get lost in the data. There's so much data available. Really figure out what is important to you and why, and looking for any of those weird red flags, right? So that's really my recommendation with Google Analytics. Do have it started on your website, do have it accessible, but don't spend hours and hours on it. It usually doesn't help a business that much, but it can help you make some strategic decisions along the way. So now we're going to change and we're going to talk about Facebook. So the very first thing on here is a business page. The main way to think about having a business page versus a friend page, a business page is a like and a friend page is an add friend, right? If your business has an add friend button on it, Facebook is going to hunt you down and they will shut you down. They really don't want you using friend pages for businesses. So highly recommend setting up a business page. Additionally, there's a lot of analytics, there's ad information, there's more things that you can do with a business page than you can with a personal page. So definitely make sure you have the right kind of page to begin with. I also get a lot of questions about groups. Are groups appropriate? Will a group work for my business or my organization? I like to think that if your group has some sort of community purpose, it can definitely be useful. If you're using a group specifically to sell things, that's pretty tough. I'm personally involved in several of those groups. I just turn off the notifications. In my opinion, it's not useful, it's not helpful. So I turn that off. The groups that I do find helpful, an example is our local YMCA has a group fitness page. I like to do cycling, so I joined the group fitness page and they put up her set list from the day, and they put up any changes in schedule, and they put up, we're working on a new construction for our cycling page, those kind of things. So it's really a community, it's a group. There's a purpose to it besides just sales. That's when I think those groups are really appropriate. So with Facebook, you can schedule posts in advance and do live posts and check-ins. I would recommend doing both. So if you've never scheduled posts in advance, when you click on your business page and type in a status, you can click the schedule later button. Now it's actually 2 clicks to get there, but you can find it if you click around on the platform. A little bit easier to do on desktop than on your mobile. But if you're looking to schedule a post in advance, it can be a really nice way to plan ahead. So I recommend business owners post on their Facebook page at least once a week. That might sound overwhelming to some. So thinking about how we do that, right? So planning ahead, maybe scheduling for 8 weeks or 12 weeks and just thinking about 1 post a week. It's actually not that much work. You sit down in front of your computer at night and you can pound out those posts pretty quickly. The only caveat with that is remembering what you post. So if something happens that you can go back. A couple years ago when that big hurricane hit Cuba, there was a travel company that had posted a special to go there literally like the day after the hurricane happened. So really thinking about what do you post and how is it relevant, right? So thinking about going in and changing those if you need to. But you will get less traffic on those. So Facebook won't give you as much natural traffic. Your average post on Facebook sees about 4% of your followers. So a pretty small portion of your followers see that original post. If you are doing live posts and check-ins, you will see that go up dramatically. I try to do check-ins all the time with our business page. On average, just putting out the post on a check-in to like an event or something like that, I'll get 20-25% of our followers seeing it immediately. So Facebook does value that. Reason being because it's more people active on their platform, right? We're using location data, we're checking in, we're using the events feature when we do that. There's a lot of reasons why they value that traffic. But live posts and check-ins are a great way to up that organic traffic. However, the scheduled posts in advance can really help you save some time. I did put on here, use it as a customer service tool. You know, I think we all need to be conscious that consumers will use it as a customer service tool. So being ready for that. Big recommendation of why you should only have a couple social medias is because people are going to use them as customer service platforms throughout. So really paying attention, how quick are you responding to those messenger messages? If somebody's writing you a review, are you going on and thanking them and commenting on that post, you know, in an individual manner? That's really going to show that you care about your customer. Additionally, with gathering reviews, that's also important on Facebook. So thinking about, you know, how do you gather more reviews? A lot of it's just asking. Now it's just recommendations. They changed it so it's do recommend or do not recommend, and then you can put a comment in there. As a business owner, as a page owner, you can comment on both of those. I do put on here as a don't, though. Don't forget about your personal page. Even if you have it completely blocked from the public, your profile picture and your cover photo will always be visible. Additionally, if you've shared a post from a different page, sometimes those posts are listed as public. So that public post could be visible. So there's a setting on Facebook where you can go and view it as the public. I recommend doing that every couple months. Check in and see what's showing up, because sometimes you'll share something and don't know that it's being shared on your public profile. And then always just keeping in mind, right, that cover photo and profile photo, that speaks to who you are as a business owner. With 2020 being an election year, you know, keeping those out of your cover photos, for instance, would be a great way to make a better impression if somebody is searching your personal Facebook page. I do have a couple examples here. So the first one here is a local women's clothing boutique. So she sells really cute women's clothing, as well as actually a little bit of kids clothing. Does a really, really nice job with her Facebook. So I like sharing this one with my clients because she does a great job of, you know, public information versus videos versus, you know, stuff about her employees. You know, one of the things that she does that's really nice is she uses local people to be her models for her clothing. So a lot of pictures like this might be someone local that shops at her shop. She lets them put on the clothes and take pictures and then uses that for her marketing. So she does a really, really nice job of involving a lot of different methods on her Facebook. So that's why I like to share that one. Additionally, I like to share this one. Quick Trip, if you're not familiar, if you're watching this from outside of Wisconsin, is a gas station chain. So Quick Trip is a gas station, right? So people say, oh, Facebook will never work for me. I point them to Quick Trip because Quick Trip's a gas station, and they do an amazing job on their Facebook. They've got over 500,000 people that like their page. So really, really great job thanking their customers, you know, putting up videos, doing personalized things, messages from the owners, all those kind of things. They do a really, really good job spreading that different kind of feeling, right, on Facebook, making you feel involved and making you feel loyal to a gas station. So it's pretty cool. I like checking them out, and they're actually pretty funny too. So that's a nice addition. I am going to touch on LinkedIn just a little bit. You know, when we think about LinkedIn, there's basically two different functions as a business owner that you can use. You've got your personal profile and you've got your business profile. In my opinion, LinkedIn hasn't quite figured out the business profile thing. So if you do create one, you could fill it out and basically look at it as another landing page for your website, but I wouldn't spend time posting on it. Just like Facebook, it's only going to share those posts with a small portion of your followers, and it's pretty difficult to get followers on Facebook. So I don't necessarily recommend taking the time to do that. I would rather you spend your time on personal profiles. So perfecting and posting updates on your personal profile and thinking about LinkedIn as a database, right? A lot of people call it a social network. It's really not. You need to look at LinkedIn as a space that has a lot of information that we literally can't find anywhere else. So depending on what you do for your job or for your business, LinkedIn might be appropriate or less appropriate. It's kind of a understanding what LinkedIn can do and if it makes sense for you. So on the next slide, I'll show you a resource that I like to use for LinkedIn if you really, really want to dive into it, but it can be used as a really, really neat sales tool. Now, that being said, you can also be used very wrong. So a lot of people that don't like LinkedIn have had poor experiences with that. And that kind of falls into my don't list. So don't accept every invite that comes your way. Evaluate each one. As I mentioned at the beginning of the presentation, I ran a marketing company for 5 years before I took this position. To this day, I still get multiple requests each week from web designers all over the world. Not relevant to my network, right? That's not going to help me. I'm not in that field anymore. I'm almost 3 years out from it, actually. So really thinking about, why are you connecting with me? And they're not putting in messages. They're sending a cold connect. So cold connect is when it just shows up and says such and such added you and there's no message, right? So if you're really trying to make good connections on LinkedIn, I would recommend putting personalized invites on anybody that you connect with, because then they know that you actually took the time to look at their profile, or give them that little bit of information of, oh yeah, this is how we met, right? So never ever send a cold connect. And then thinking about not sending sales messages to non-prospects. A couple weeks ago, I had the experience. I was added by a woman on LinkedIn that she put in a message in the connect, and she said something along the lines of looking to connect with local business owners, interested in adding you to my LinkedIn network. Sure, I'll add you to my LinkedIn network, not a problem. She was from the local area, right? So I went and pressed connect, and about 2 hours later, I got a message from her, and she wanted to set up a time to talk about how doTERRA essential oils could help me. Now, there's a lot of assumptions in a message like that, right? One, assuming I'm interested. Two, assuming that I need help, right? It can be taken offensively, right? So I did not respond to that message. Didn't disconnect with her, but thought about it because it made me frustrated. 2 weeks later, she sent me a very similar message again, and I sent her a message back and said, I am absolutely not interested. It just frustrates me when people use that platform that way. There is a very effective way to do it, a much more effective way. One of the things that's nice is, asking to set up a time to meet for coffee. It's a very non-committal ask. It's not necessarily saying I'm going to sell you my product or you're going to sell me your product, but it's a nice time to personally connect with people. So that's what I like to use LinkedIn for if I'm trying to connect with somebody new. Setting up a time to talk on the phone or setting up a time to get coffee is a lot less committal than let me tell you about what I do, right? So there are right ways to do LinkedIn. There's definitely wrong ways to do LinkedIn. On my next page here, I've got Wayne Breitbarth is a LinkedIn professional out of Milwaukee, and he wrote a book, which you can see here, Power Formula for LinkedIn Success. He's obviously got a great LinkedIn profile, so if you're looking for an example, he does a really, really nice job. If you're looking to dive into LinkedIn, click on and purchase his book or get it from the local library. It does really, really have a lot of information in it. I attended a presentation by Wayne about 1.5 years ago. At the time, I had been on LinkedIn for over 10 years, and I can't even tell you the amount of valuable information I learned from that presentation. So definitely worth diving into if you're looking to learn more. My second level here, or second link here, is another LinkedIn professional that I know. She's out of Wisconsin as well, but also has a really nice LinkedIn profile. And then the last one here is an author and a professional speaker, somebody that I have a soft spot in my heart for, Judy Robinette. She has written 2 books that I recommend to a lot of my clients, and she does a really, really nice job with her profile as well. So if you're looking for examples of nice profiles that are put together, those 3 are great to check out. Feel free to check out my profile as well. I'm still working on it. It's a work in progress, so mine isn't perfect, but you can check that out as well. So data, we talked about a lot of data, right? All of these things we talked about today have data involved in them. So what do we do with it? Do dig into it. Look for keywords, bounces, do some A/B testing. So A/B testing is when you use like 2 different URLs with 2 different marketing campaigns and see what works best for you. Really figure out how to use that data to the best of your ability. However, you don't necessarily want to focus on things that don't matter, and you don't want to react on impulse, right? So you're always going to have somebody that's not happy. We all know that from online reviews. You could click on any Amazon product and you're always going to have somebody that has something negative to say about it. But thinking about, how do you build trust, establish value without reacting on impulse? Now, that being said, if you're getting consistent data from multiple sources, how can you take that data and make the changes that you need to reflect the feedback that you're getting? So a lot of things you can do with that data. A lot of time can be wasted, however, we're focusing on the wrong data. So paying attention to what you can do for that. So time management, all of this that we talked about today, this is only a couple platforms, right? We talked about website, Google Analytics, Facebook, and LinkedIn. We all know there are a lot more things out there. So thinking about time management across all of these platforms is really important. So one of the things that I like to recommend is sharing content across platforms. I will put an asterisk next to that though, because you can't share the exact same content again across all the platforms. So a great example is Facebook and Instagram. You could have a picture and use the same caption. However, you would want to specialize that post and use a bunch of hashtags on Instagram. If you're not using hashtags on Instagram, you might as well not be on Instagram. So really, really important to push those hashtags in. If you load up your Facebook page with hashtags, those hashtags really don't do much on Facebook. So someone that's experienced in marketing might identify that as something that's a little bit odd. You'd never want to connect your platform, so don't ever have it automatically post to your Instagram and Facebook or to your Twitter and your Facebook. There's a lot that can go wrong in that. So it's very obvious that you connect those platforms, and really people behave differently on those platforms anyway. So you don't want to do that if you don't have to. Do schedule posts in advance. We talked about that earlier. I personally like to mark off time on my calendar to work on my digital presence. It's something that I actually do enjoy. Now, not everybody enjoys it, but what I find is that my days just get too busy. My days get too busy, I get wrapped in too many things, and I don't have time to spend on the digital presence type of things. Great example is recording these videos. I literally had to put it on my schedule to make sure that it would happen. And my last note of advice there is give things time to work, but know when to walk away as well, right? So setting a limit for yourself of how much time you're going to spend on something. A great example for that is when I first started here at the center, I wanted to try Twitter. We kind of had a page, but it wasn't really being used, and we started posting on it often, tried to use it. We tried for over 2 years, and it just got to the point that we were not getting any engagement. I mean, we had like 35 followers, which is definitely not worth your time on Twitter. So we ended up actually deleting the account. So do know when to walk away, and that's an okay thing to do. I think a lot of business owners have trouble letting go of things they spent a lot of time on. So just being aware of it and making sure that you set a limit for yourself of when you should walk away. So I've got a great book here. It's actually on my sources slides, so you'll see it in a minute. But Marketing Rebellion by Mark Schaefer talks about why human-centered marketing is so very important. So he talks about the evolution of marketing, right? So we look back to the 1920s, and you might see a poster with a pregnant woman drinking a beer and smoking a cigarette and then talking about how healthy it is. We kind of laugh now because there's rules in place, there's laws in place, right? We can't just make claims like that anymore. However, marketing like that has made us inherently skeptical. Even today, a relevant example now is buying something off of Amazon, and it has a picture and you get it in the mail and it's completely not what's pictured, right? We all have had these experiences. So thinking about how we can make our marketing more human focused. So the whole book is actually talking about human-centered marketing. It really stuck out to me compared to other marketing presentations and things that I had seen. So really thinking about this manifesto is taken from the book. There's a lot more content in the book itself, but be relevant, consistent, and superior. Build trust in all you do. Be fans of your fans. Both of those Facebook pages I shared earlier have really great examples of how to be fans of your fans. Transcend inherent mistrust of your company through honesty. So thinking about building honesty with everything that you do on your digital presence. The second to last bullet is probably my favorite on this slide. Marketing is never about your why. It's about the customer's why. So a lot of times we talk about, putting yourself in the customer's shoes. I think we can go further than that. So thinking about ultimately, at the end of the day, why are they making this purchase? What motivates them to work with you over somebody else? You know, what is their why? And a lot of business owners get so focused on their business and what their why is. Sometimes I think that gets forgotten. So something to analyze as you're making posts and building your website. You know, why would somebody work with you? Why would they choose you over somebody else? Why are they interested in these services in the first place? Really, really good questions to ask yourself. And then kind of the whole thing with the book is the most human company wins. So I threw that on the slide too. But really, really interesting take on why our marketing needs to be more human focused, and how we focus on the customer's perspective. So do keep improving. As I mentioned earlier, algorithms change constantly. So there's a lot of information out there. It's hard to keep up on, but just being aware of the changes that are being made and how that affects your website or your Facebook along the way. Master one or two social media networks instead of trying to conquer them all. Like I said, people will use it as a customer service tool. That's my main reason of why you don't want to be on too many social medias, because it's too hard to handle. And I put this on here because I didn't know exactly where else to put it, but I do think that your online presence, part of that plays into your email address. Using a professional email address, you know, if you're using a Yahoo or an MSN or a Hotmail, I think you're losing a bit of credibility, right? So using something like Outlook or G Suite, you can get a professional email address. So like at my last job, it was melissa@michigancreative.com. That was through G Suite. So when I logged in, it looked exactly like Gmail, but it wasn't just melissa@gmail.com, right? It was a lot more professional looking. So something to consider for sure. Do keep content specific to your industry, your local events, behind the scenes. Really be creative on what content you put on your Facebook page or on your other social media. But make sure you're being relevant, right? That's the main thing to pay attention to, and make sure that you're not only posting about your sales, you're not only posting about your products. You've got a lot more personality and a lot more information. So there's the book that I mentioned before, Marketing Rebellion by Mark Schaefer, and then I had one other link on there. Admittedly, I didn't have a lot of sources for this presentation because it was just a lot built on experience and the information that I know from being in the industry for so long. I do have on here the link to americassbdc.org. So no matter where you're watching this YouTube video from, you can go to that website and find your local SBDC office that can help you with a lot of these things. So I want to thank you for taking the time to join our YouTube video today. Let us know if you have any questions, and we hope that you find this content useful. Thank you.